You better start moving and feel the music. Get your groove on and let it use you. When you feel the fire and you know it's right, pure desire, just hold on tight. Get up, down, move around, get down on the ground, get high and touch the sky. You know the reasons why. Just dance. Come on, just dance. Just dance. Come on, just dance. When the heat gets too hard to handle, and you know you're about to get it, and you can reach much higher now, you better believe it. You can look at the clouds fly by. Come on and let yourself enjoy the ride and fly a little higher, a little higher, a little.
By my own admission, I can be a difficult gamer to please. I play a metric shit ton of titles, and so I end up experiencing a lot of the same mechanics over and over and over again, often with little to distinguish them from what came before. This is especially noticeable in today's AAA market, where it feels as if most big-budget games are designed by committee, one tasked with mimicking what the other guys are doing. There's just an ever-invasive copy-paste design ethos permeating the medium, and a lot of experiences feel hollow and passionless because of it. I'm simply getting too bored too quickly. This has been most apparent in the past 2 to 3 years, where almost every game I was anticipating has left me wanting. It's this creative black hole that kept Death's Door off my radar. I watched along as Devolver Digital showed it off last summer, but nothing about it called out to me. It just seemed like another run-of-the-mill, minimalistic indie-style Zelda meets Metroid meets Dark Souls sort of game. Something we're seeing way too many of. But fuck me sideways, because while it very much is another one of those, it's a damn fine version of it. Developed by the two-man team over at Acid Nerve, the studio previously known for the hit Titan Souls, Death's Door is a charming and genuinely phenomenal time. From the music to the gameplay to even the story, all of it is an absolute feast, and it's the sort of game that makes me further adore the medium I've dedicated so much of my life towards experiencing. An adoration that means all the more because it arrived at a time when I needed something to reinvigorate my love of the modern market. Which is sort of comical in hindsight, as truthfully, Death's Door doesn't really do anything new. The gameplay is an amalgamation of tried and true mechanics. It's all stuff you've seen before, which runs counter to what I just expressed about formulaic and repetitive design ethos within the medium. But that's what makes Death's Door so memorable. It threw my growing cynicism right back into my face and proved that formulas do still work. They exist for a reason, but like a recipe that will soon become boring should you cook it too often, it's important that extra ingredients are added to mix it up a bit, and that's exactly what Acid Nerve did here. Now don't get me wrong, there's no earth-shatteringly monumental changes in play, but what has been altered helps it float to the top of the pile. For instance, one thing that I think will surprise people is how the title leans less towards Dark Souls than it appears. There's no real punishment for dying, as you'll never drop your collected souls and need to retrieve them, which was a very conscious decision. As Acid Nerve co-founder Mark Foster would tell it in an interview with NME, he likes Bloodborne and Elden Ring, who doesn't? But when creating Death's Door, it got to a point where far too many games were releasing with a soul drop mechanic, and he's fatigued by it. So the idea was nixed. Likewise, instead of a slower and clunkier style of play based on stamina management, he ditched that aspect altogether and gave the combat a more arcadey flow, which serves the game very well. It's just good old fun. There's a responsiveness that I appreciate, and I enjoyed the rhythmic cadence of each battle. The tool set is fairly standard in that you have the typical light attack, heavy attack, and dodge roll. But what sets it apart is how the magic system works. There's 4 spells in total, 3 of which need to be unlocked via progression, and when the game begins you're limited to just 4 uses of a bow and arrow, as each time you fire it, a node on the magic bar depletes by 1. These nodes can be refilled, however, and to do so, all you gotta do is hit an enemy or breakable object with a melee attack. This creates a dance as you roll in, snag some hits, dodge away, fire projectiles, and then move in for more attacks. Just being able to refill magic by hitting breakable objects adds a fun strategy to specific situations, especially as projectiles pack a wallop. Back on the melee front, there's 5 possible weapons and each feels differently from the others. Although you'll notice in my footage I'm using an umbrella. This is because there's a PSN trophy for only ever using it, and this weapon is the weakest in the game, doing just half the damage of the starting sword. Due to the damage handicap, I focused my build on magic and strength because yes, the souls you acquire can be used to boost character stats. There's 4 possible attributes to raise, but I ignored half of them until I maxed my main 2. For a title that appears quite simplistic at face value, I gotta stress just how excellently everything comes together. It's a genuine blast, and it can become a chaotic brawl, most notably during Avarice Gauntlets. These are chests you gain access to as the story progresses, sorta by violent means as it swallows you whole, and inside you must fight 4 waves of increasingly difficult enemies. These are the toughest fights in the game, but the reward is worth it as upon completion you unlock a new spell. There's a hookshot, a bomb, and a fireball. And not only can they be utilized in combat, but they open up new areas, allowing for deeper exploration. A worthwhile venture is hidden throughout the map are collectibles, upgrade points, healing seeds, and hidden shrines. The hidden shrines are especially worth seeking out as depending on which type you find, they bestow upon the player Vitality or Magic Shard. Collect 4 shards and you unlock a new node of health or magic, maxing out at 6 of each. With how damage works, you'll really appreciate that extra health because all damage in the game is the same. A boss hitting you is no different than a basic enemy hitting you. Each will take a point of health, which means starting out you will die in 4 hits. Although, it's not as unforgiving as it sounds. The game really isn't all that difficult, minus a few memorable battle arenas and maybe 1 or 2 bosses. Obviously, everyone's skills will vary, but I think most competent gamers will defeat the big bads in 1 to 2 tries. That's not to say they're complete pushovers, as you do have to focus and properly time your dodges and hits lest you be overwhelmed, but they telegraph their moves early enough that it's not too bad. Overall, I found them to be fun encounters with the exception of the second major story boss. He was far too mechanically simple, and given there's not too many major foes throughout the experience, it momentarily sucked the wind out of my sails. The best way to describe him is that it felt like something I'd see in an old 90s mascot platformer, think Spyro or something. That aside, it's good stuff. There's enough environmental differences between major areas that the combat scenarios feel different. In one arena you can shoot explosive purple pots to kill spawning minions, and in another are flowers who shoot fire at you, and it's a valid tactic to hit the fireballs back towards other enemies. Although my absolute favorite segment took place on an ice rink. It sadly didn't last very long, but the final level features frozen ponds, and normally you have to stand still to shoot magic, but on the ice you can build momentum and slide, and as you slide you can charge your magic attacks and fire them off, slipping just beyond the reach of incoming attacks. It's hardly complex and it's quite minor in the grand scheme of things, but I had a stupid amount of fun slipping and zipping about. I hope in any future game Acid Nerve builds a bigger level designed around that. It's just too much fun. As you can hopefully tell, Death's Door is chill. Relaxing even, a mood aided by the music, because holy mother of God, the soundtrack is out. I just fucking hit my elbow on my desk because I was expressing myself. Fuck, I'm leaving this in. Because, god damn it, because I fucking hurt my elbow on that. Because holy mother of God, the soundtrack is top tier. With no hint of exaggeration, I believe it to be one of the best soundtracks of 2021. It is so freaking good, and I loved just sitting back and vibing with it. Although that chill vibe can occasionally be hampered by moments of tragedy, because Death's Door packs an emotional punch from time to time. I can't say too much about the plot as the bulk of it comes near the end and I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a moment in the game that hit me kinda hard, and the resulting boss fight is stylistically the best it has to offer. It's legitimately fucking sad. Maybe not the type of soul-crushing sadness that'll make you cry, but you'll likely feel bad for what's occurring and why, and it's designed in a way to get you thinking, which is another thing the game does so well. The plot is about death. You play a Reaper working for a bureaucratic organization called the Reaping Commission Headquarters, and with death comes existential dread that we all likely feel from time to time, and that's a core point of the story. All the main villains aren't necessarily evil, they're just characters afraid to accept fate, so they fight against the inevitable as long as they can, eventually losing touch with their own souls. The game never even outright condemns them, and after each boss is vanquished, there's a few words said in their name and a moment of silence. Forgiveness pervades these scenes, and it works very well. Dare I say it, Death's Door is wholesome. Blah! No, I'm kidding. It's a charming experience with tons of humor scattered throughout. It may be about death, but there's a levity to it. It also doesn't overstay its welcome. I first played the PlayStation 5 version, and that playthrough took almost exactly 12 hours. That included getting the Platinum Trophy and 100%ing the game itself. I then played it a second time using the PS4 copy because I wanted to experience it again, and that run was 9 hours. A good length of time for a $20 game. I should stress that it doesn't end with the final boss. There is endgame content and a reward for finding all the collectibles. These are easy to find after the final boss has been defeated, as the doors in the hub world which lead to each environment will glow pink if there's something you missed. Admittedly though, some of the extra activities are a little lame, like one where you lead ghosts to keyhole doors, but the secret boss fight that gets unlocked is a good one that pays off a narrative thread. If there's one other qualm, it's that the secret ending didn't make a ton of sense in my first playthrough. I can't say too much about it, but it has ties to Titan Souls, and having not played Titan Souls until after Death's Door, it didn't immediately resonate with me. Thankfully, I'd experienced it by the time I played the PS4 version, and yeah, now that I know what it means, I can say it's pretty dope. It makes me anxious to see what Acid Nerve does next. To close out this video, I've always been big on the notion that passion can go a long way towards making a game stand out, and Death's Door is proof of that. It doesn't break new barriers, nor will it change the medium, but it doesn't have to. It just had to be fun, and it is. It really is. The developers clearly had a deep love for what they made, and in a game where the objective is to gather souls, it doesn't escape me that the developers so clearly poured their own into the affair. Which, hey, good on them, because their soul reached out and warmed the heart of a cynic like me, which is all the proof I need for why you should play it too. A good game is good. Thanks for watching.
All of my friends say, girl, you better take care, 'cause that man is trouble, you best beware. And though deep down I know I might be headed for teardrops, now that you got me started, I just can't stop. No, 'cause I love you, baby. I can't let you go, baby. I gotta tell you that I've been looking for love so true.